Hello and welcome back to East Coast Wagering. We're one day out from the Belmont Stakes and we have a nice card. Even though there are some small fields, I think there's a little bit of value to be made in these fields if you go into the pick fours and pick fives, or if you're really feeling lucky, try in the pick six. Today I'm going to break down all 13 of the races, starting with the stakes races, and give you my top plays in each race. I want to start out by looking at the multi-race opportunities that they have on the card on Saturday, because I do think that's where the money's to be made. There are quite a few short fields in here, in 5, 6 horses, even at a 7 or 2. And I think that really the way you're going to make your money on this card is to spread across multiple races and maybe catch a long shot or two to pair with those even money favorites that are running in these short fields. Looking at the card, we start with a pick 5 in race 1, a pick 4 in race 2, a pick 4 in race 4, the pick 6 starts in race 6, followed by a pick 5 in race 7, a pick 4 in race 8, and then we end the card with a pick 5 in race 9 and a pick 4 in race 10. There is 1 or 2 of these pick 4s I'm not really that interested in. The pick 4 that starts in race 2 and the pick 4 that starts in race 4, I don't see a whole lot of value in that. Give it a try if you want, but I think I'm going to stick to the later races with most of my budget, because I do think that's probably where most of the value is. I'm going to start off with the graded stakes portion of the card, the first of which is in race 3. It's the grade 1 Acorn going a mile on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies. And we have a big favorite in this field based on the morning line, and I think Echo Zulu is going to go off a short price in this small field. You can see her in her Kentucky Oaks effort, where she ultimately finished 4th after pressing an absolutely blazing pace, and she just didn't quite have enough left in the tank to hold off the closers. There doesn't appear to be any other front-end speed in this field, and if no one goes with her, she should be able to win this easy by setting soft fractions. And even if someone does press her, I still think based off her gutty Oaks finish, she could still win this, as I don't think any besides possibly Monterey are near the quality of Secret Oath or Nest. On top of that, it appears the horse most likely to challenge her early is Monterey, and even though this distance looks like Monterey prefers it more than Echo Zulu, I still think Echo Zulu's class carries her regardless of how much pace pressure Monterey or anyone else tries to apply. The second stakes on the card is race 4. It's the grade 1 Just a Game, going a mile on the turf for fillies and mares 4-year-olds and up. And again, we have another short price favorite in this field that looks like she's going to be difficult to beat, and Speak of the Devil, the number 3 horse. You can see her in her last out effort in the Longines Churchill Distaff, where she made a sweeping last to first move, basically just blowing by the entire field like it was standing still. This was off a fairly slow fraction set by the number 4 here in Italian, who offered no resistance as Speak of the Devil pulled away to win by about 3 lengths. The pace in this race looks like it should be much quicker than what she faced that day, with both the number 1 Legs Galore and number 4 in Italian doing their best racing from the front, which you would think would only serve to help her chances here. I'll add the number 2 Regal Glory in multi-race bets, since she is a very versatile mare who can race from either up close or far back depending on the pace, and with a well-timed ride, maybe she could possibly get the jump on the favorite, but I think that if Speak of the Devil runs that same race that she did last out, I think she's going to be very difficult to beat. Race 5 is the grade 2 Brooklyn going a mile and a half on the dirt for 4-year-olds and up. The number 1 Lone Rock in his last race was able to go gate to wire against a small field at a short price in the Isaac Murphy Marathon at Churchill. He was able to set an uncontested lead for most of that race, but he has also shown the ability to sit off the pace in previous efforts. He's the reigning champion of this race, as he won this by 11 lengths last year, and he is a very deserving favorite this year based off his 5 of 6 record at the distance, with his lone loss a second. With all that said, I think from the one post, they may elect to go with him to the lead the way that they did in his last effort, and with the presence of the number 5 First Constitution, he won't be able to set an easily controlled pace like he did in his previous out. I'm actually going to try to beat him to try to get some value in this race. I'm going to try with the number 7 Fearless and the number 2 Max Player. Fearless was most recently second in the grade 2 Oaklawn handicap scene here. In that race, he was 3 wide for the entire race and got in tight at the top of the stretch, forcing him to drop back a bit, but he ultimately re-rallied for second. He has not yet tried the mile and a half distance yet, but he appears to like longer races, and the presence of some other pace setters could allow him to stalk from just off the leaders. He has thrived in graded stakes company, not finishing off the board since 2020, with some consistently strong speed figures that fit here in this group. My other selection is the number 2 Max Player, who threw in a complete dud in his last out effort in the Grade 2 Ali Sheba, where he finished last of 7 horses. He also finished last in his previous try 6 months prior to that, when he was completely overmatched in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This horse seems to do his best running when he isn't so far out of the race early, which I'm hoping in a longer race like this he can be a bit closer. Based on the layoff prior to his last, the jockey changed to Jose Ortiz, and the value you're getting on him at 6-1, I think he's worth including in your bet, stretching out to 1.5 miles. Race 6 is the Grade 1 Woody Stevens, going 7 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds. And again, we have another short field here, and a very short price favorite in Jack Christopher. He's 1-2 on the morning line, and I think he could be the shortest price on the entire card. But he is a deserving favorite, and he's going to be very difficult to beat here. His last out effort was off a 7-month layoff, and he won easily to take down the Grade 2 Pat Day Mile. He sat right off the pace in that race and wore down the number 2 in this race, Papa Cap, drawing off to win by 3+ lengths. He's undefeated in 3 lifetime starts and is arguably the most talented horse in this 3-year-old division. It seems like the connections are going to keep him at the shorter distances for now, which makes sense since his sire is Munnings and he was a successful horse at sprint distances, but did not run as well in his few route attempts. I do think this field has some tougher competition than the Pat Day Mile, as both the number 3 Wit and the number 4 Morello look like they're very nice horses at short distances. He is certainly the one to beat though, and he will be singled on a lot of pick 6 tickets to start. I'd add in the number 4 Morello, who is also undefeated at races up to 1 mile, and if he can spring the upset, he will really juice the payoffs. Race 7 is the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps for fillies and mares going 1 mile and 1/16 on the dirt, 4-year-olds and up. And my top selection here is actually the second choice on the morning line, the number 3 horse Malathat, who you can see here in her last out effort, the Grade 3 Double Dog Dare, off a 5-month layoff. In that race, she closed on a quick pace to win by 3/4 of a length over the number 2 in this race, Bonnie South. I understand the pace scenario may not be in her favor if the number 1 Latruska can set soft fractions, but ultimately Malathat has beaten all 4 of these rivals each time she has faced them, some on multiple occasions. She has never finished outside the top 3 in 9 lifetime races, with 7 of those being wins. If she can run back to the form she showed in 2021, I honestly don't think any of these horses can beat her regardless of the pace. I'll also throw in the number 5 search results into my multi-race wagers. 9-2 is great value on a horse that's 2 for 2 over this track and barely lost to my top selection the only time they ever met, which was in the Kentucky Oaks. It's also very difficult to leave the number 1 out, as she is a very successful mare, but I'm probably going to try to get some value in this small field by trying to beat her. Race 8 is the Grade 1 Jaipur, going 6 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And I do think this is a deep field, and there's a couple that have a chance in here. But with that said, my top selection is the morning line favorite, the number 5 Arrest Me Red, who you can see here in his last out effort, the Twin Spires Turf Sprint, where he won in impressive fashion, defeating a handful that he faces this Saturday in the process, in the 7, the 11, the 12, and the 13. He was 4 to 5 wide in that race to the far turn, where he drifted back off the lead before making his move and drawing off to win the 5.5 furlong race by over a length. In this race, he faces far less pressure than that last out effort, and he looks to benefit from added half furlong, as he is 3 for 3 going 6 furlongs. If he matches that last out effort, I think he's likely going to win this one. I'm going to add 2 other horses here who I think are very nice value and have a legit shot here, so I'm going to have them in my multi-race wagers as well as in my trifectas and superfectas. The first is the number 11 Chasing Artie, who's coming out of that same race as my top choice. He stumbled leaving the gate, which a horse basically can't come back from in this level going 5.5 furlongs. But I like his prior race off the trainer change, and a step forward off that could get him the win at a good price. And my other selection is the number 1 Change of Control, who finished second last out in the Unbridled Sydney to actually one of my top plays on the Friday card. This mare fits in here with the boys based off that effort, where she ran off moderate fractions in 4th and needed to go 4 to 5 wide into the stretch before getting caught in the final stride by Toby's Heart. Her speed figures are trending upward, and she could spring the upset with a step forward and the jockey switch to Manny Franco. The added half furlong should benefit her as well, as her lone attempt on this track was a win at 7 furlongs. Race 9 is the Grade 1 Met Mile, going a mile on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up. And the way that you bet this race is really going to depend on how you feel about the number 1 Flightline and some questions that he has to answer. The first of which, can he duplicate this effort seen here in the Grade 1 Malibu off a 5-month layoff? Second, can he stretch out the extra furlong and still be as effective? Third, can he ship and win away from California? My thoughts are he's been dominant off layoffs before, so I don't see the 5 months as a problem. He's won all of his races by double-digit lengths, so even if he regresses a little bit, I don't think the extra distance hurts him. The real question is, can he ship across the country and win? And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. Even his workouts are really impressive, most recently showing 4 furlongs in 46 and 4, the quickest of 79 works that day at the distance. I think this horse is the real deal, and I hope to see him against Jackie's Warrior sometime down the line, maybe the Breeders' Cup Sprint. If you want to try to beat Flightline or spread a little bit, there's the obvious choice, the number 2 Speaker's Corner, but I really like the number 3 Aloha West here if the top 2 get caught up in a speed duel. And the race before the Belmont Stakes is race 10. It's the Grade 1 Manhattan, going 1.25 miles on the inner turf for 4-year-olds and up. And in this race, my top selection is going to be the same horse that won for me and was my top selection on Derby Day in the Turf Classic, and that's Santon. You can see his effort here in the Turf Classic, where he set off the pace set by the number 7 in this race, Tribhuvan, and put that one away at the top of the stretch, dueling the whole way down the stretch with Mirror Mission to prevail by a neck. This horse is in peak form right now, and I like that he's shown more early pace in his last 2. I think there will be a moderate pace since there are a couple here that like to be up close early, but Santon looks to get first run on those, and I think that the 1.25 miles is a shorter than a couple of the others in this race want to go. I'm going to jump to my third selection because he's also coming out of the same Turf Classic field, and that's the number 4 Adamo. He wasn't able to close as well as he did against the previous slow pace he faced, but I think he needs to be a bit closer to horses of this quality. If the pace does develop, and I do think that there's a chance because there are some horses here that want to be more forwardly placed, then I think he will be the top beneficiary, and he could improve off that last out effort. And my second choice is the number 8 Highland Chief, who's coming off a surprise victory in the Grade 1 Man-O-War. I'll admit, I didn't give this one too much of a shot in that race, but he has been racing in the past against stiff competition in Europe. Then he showed absolutely nothing in his first race back off the long layoff. He's going to be forwardly placed here as he was in the Man-O-War, and I don't think that race was a fluke at all. This is his second race off the long layoff, and he appears to have rounded back into form, and I like the way he battled to get that win over a very nice field. This is a deep race, and I'd recommend going deep in this in your multi-races in both your pick 4s and pick 5s, because I think there are some other shorter fields that you can go a little more narrow in, so this is the race to go deep. And the biggest race on the card is race 11. It's the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes, going 1.5 miles on the dirt for 3-year-olds. And if you're interested in getting a detailed breakdown of the entire field, check out my video from earlier this week. Today I'm actually just going to be covering my top selections. The first of which is the number 1 We the People, who in the Grade 3 Peter Pan won last out in the same front-running tactics we should expect to see from him here in the Belmont. He rolled in that race to a 10-length victory over a fairly weak field on the sloppy sealed track, which likely carried him forward a bit. I really don't want to take this horse at 2-1, but there is no one that's going to press him, and I only see Nest even remotely showing any early interest based on the rest of the entrants in this field. His breeding suggests the distance should not be an issue, so unless there's some other surprise speed or someone makes an early move, this one could easily cruise to victory. And my second selection in the Belmont Stakes is the aforementioned number 3 horse Nest, who's coming off a second place effort in the Kentucky Oaks behind Secret Oath after setting off blazing fractions set by Echo Zulu and Ujiri. If the big win last out in the Peter Pan was a product of the sloppy track, and we get an effort from We the People like his Arkansas Derby instead, then I love Nest's chances here as the only other horse with any early foot whatsoever. I still think that she can get the victory even if We the People doesn't flop, because I think she will be close enough to make the move required to put her in position early entering the stretch to grind out the victory. And my third selection is the number 6 horse Mo Donegal, who's likely going to go off the second choice, if not possibly the favorite. His last out effort was a 5th place finish in the Kentucky Derby, where he lost a ton of ground to the eventual winner Rich Strike by needing to fan 10 deep into the stretch. In this smaller field, with a few that I don't even think are going to be around late, that shouldn't be an issue. I like that he's shown the ability to close against a good horse on a slow pace when he ran down Preakness winner early voting in the Wood Memorial. The pace setup does concern me a bit, but out of all the closers, I think this one is the most likely to overcome it, and he may be one of the most talented 3-year-olds this year. Note that in addition to the 3 that I listed, I'm also going to be playing Barber Road in my bets. I think he'll love the extra distance, but I want to see him a little bit closer to the pace than he has been in his last few. I'm going to give you my selections for the other 4 races on the card that aren't stakes races, races 1, 2, 12, and 13. In race 1, I like the 4, the 7, and the 8. My top selection, the number 4, Safalau's Mission, looks to benefit from a ton of early speed in this race, with all 3 outside horses likely to go early. With a clean break for this improving gelding, I think that he's squarely in the mix. Race 2, I like the 1A, the 6, and the 2. The number 1A, Bright Future, seems to be appropriately named if his first career start is of any indication. He won easily at this distance with a speed figure higher than any of these others can boast. You also get the benefit of the coupled entry, who I think has a chance here as well. In race 12, I'm actually going to go with the number 12 horse, North Carolina, as my top pick. I see the race as a 12-8-10. Linda Rice picks up the training duties for this one off the claim, and horses typically perform well first off the claim for her. If that moves this one even slightly forward, it should be enough to get him the win off some close turf attempts in his past few. And the final race on the card is race 13. I see it as a 6-12-8. The number 6 Fontana Freda ran well off the 5-month layoff, and with the shorter time between races, coupled with a few horses that want the lead in this one, he could turn the tables on the favored 12 horse here. That's why I see this 13 race Belmont card shaping up. Like I said before, I do think that your value that you're going to find is going to be in the multi-race wagers. There are a lot of tiny fields here with short price favorites that are likely going to be the ones that win. Hit the comments section though and let me know if you think any of these short price favorites are susceptible to losing, and if you do, I'd like to hear who you're trying to beat them with. Again, like I stated before, I have a video from earlier this week where I break down the entire Belmont field. If you're interested in seeing that, go ahead and check it out. My name is Jeremy Pielmeyer, and this is East Coast Wagering. I appreciate you watching my video, and I hope to see you again soon.